It's the Two Gems Podcast.
I'm actually miserable right now.
Is that the first words of our episode?
I'm so hungry. And I need a coffee so bad.
I know.
Our last episode, we were talking about how we're fasting. Whenever
Fast
we
life,
usually
the
record
fast
these
life.
episodes, they're in the morning. They're in the morning and we have a nice hot coffee. I've slammed down a bagel. Now I'm just here like, I'm so hungry. Matt's drinking tea. You can hear my stomach. You could probably hear it if I put the microphone to it. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, you're going to have to keep that mic away from your belly, for sure.
Anyway, it's fine. But we started fasting it's probably been a week now, right?
Oh, it's been more than that.
Has it?
Oh, yeah.
So why is my stomach not like, okay, Sheridan, get over yourself?
Well, it probably all has to do with like what you eat the night before and whatever. And I don't know. Stuff like that, I guess.
Oh my gosh, my nails are a mess. Everything about me is a mess right now, but here we are.
Yeah, we're doing this fasting thing. It's been, I've been enjoying it. My poops are normal now. And
That's actually a really big thing. It is. Because
so
Matt and I both struggle, I would say. Well, I've had IBS for as long as I can remember. This is the beginning of the podcast. Poop chat. And you've always had a bad
syndrome.
You've always had a bad belly.
Should I be a singer?
Absolutely no.
Yeah.
Since I've known you, you've had a pretty bad belly as well. And I feel like this has made a difference for us. And like we've been having regular bowel movements, which is crazy to me.
Yeah, my poops are like really inconsistent. Like very inconsistent bowel movements.
You're worse than I am.
They happen every day, but they're never normal.
Oh, I don't poop
And
every
they say
day.
your poop like actually says a lot about you.
Yeah.
I'm not like well versed in this. I just know like when I look in the toilet, I'm like, oh fuck,
Oh.
probably not eating right.
I'll never
My whole life.
forget when I went. So my parents, because I had a bad belly forever, and I always had like a really sore stomach, IBS and stuff. They sent me to the hospital when I was like 15 years old. So I was in my prime, right? Like embarrassed about things, puberty, stuff like this. And they're like, yeah, you're going to go and talk to a specialist about
An ass specialist.
your bowel movements, basically. And I didn't think much of it. Lo and behold, like the guy that enters me into the room is the most attractive male doctor I've ever seen. And he's like 25. Okay.
Fabio.
So I get in there and he's like,
Right out of one of your novels, eh?
yeah, well, I was 15 at the time, so I wasn't thinking much about those novels. But I just remember sitting there and he was like, so how's your poop? What color is it? All these questions. And I'm just like red as a tomato. I'm like, I'll never forget that.
Very liquidy.
Yeah, I was like, no, my poops are fine. Gotta go. I literally lied about everything because I was like, oh my God, this guy's judging my whole bowel movements, of course.
Very great consistency.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm fine. Gotta go. Anyway, so yeah, we've been fasting and
You have your accessory on again.
I have my accessory on again. But we're all kind of a bit of a disheveled mess because we just had the hurricane.
Look at us. I feel like my beard grew like 3 inches because of the hurricane. Look at it. I'm getting so shaggy. We're both in like hoodies and sweatpants today.
So the hurricane was last Friday?
Yeah, it came. It was last Friday. It hit us Friday night, like going into Saturday at about midnight. It was really, really bad.
So before that, we watched a movie because I had a feeling the power was going to run out.
Oh, yeah.
So we watched Where the Crawdads Sing.
Talk about it.
And, well, actually, I haven't really heard your opinion on it, so I wouldn't be opposed to talking about it. But many people love that book. Like, label it as one of their favorite books ever.
Yeah.
Even Lee said it the other day when I told her we watched it. She loved
Oh,
that
Lee's
book.
read the book?
Yeah, everyone's
did she?
read the book. Talina sent me a message months ago telling me to read the book and that I would love it.
Why?
Well,
Why do people love it? Like when I watched the movie, and you know, movies, books are very different. But when I watched the movie, I was like, this isn't that compelling of a story. Like, what am I missing here that made this like an NY Times bestseller of all time? Like,
you're missing reading is what you're missing.
No, but like what about the story is that crazy?
I could understand after watching the movie that if you were reading that book, it would have been amazing.
I'm trying to think. Why would it have been better?
Well,
the movie was good. But
because you're reading. It's as simple as that. Like you, sir, do not understand because you don't read. But reading is such a vastly different experience than watching.
Okay, so like if I'm trying to think of an example here. If you read a book on like Avatar or something, it would be like mind-blowing. It's like a new thing. Like that movie was about a girl that meets a guy that has another guy.
Like
and
a
then
movie. It was a slow-paced movie like it would be a book. Like Avatar or something, like it would be I don't know. Anyway.
No, but just like hear me out on this for a second. So like if you actually look at from a bird's eye view of this story, there's a girl that had a shitty family.
Yes, very.
And then she meets a guy, and then there's another guy. I don't want to ruin it for anyone, but there's a murder, and you find this all out very early in the story, so I'm not ruining any. With that happens. It's like it's not like wow, this is like revolutionary, most compelling,
I don't think it's
eye-opening.
about that with the book. I don't think that needs to be that for.
No,
a book.
but why did that story become so big for everybody? What is it?
Drop it in the comments.
It seems like a dime a dozen. Like,
well,
but so like, well, rebuttal it. Like, what is it about Where the Crawdads Sing that was that crazy?
Rebuttal it. I loved it. I enjoyed the pace of it. I enjoyed the story. I enjoyed the romance. I liked her character. I really liked it all. And I could see as I was watching it why it would have been such a good book. Because when you read a book, you're immersed in it completely differently. And it is slower paced. You're reading at a slower speed. You're not reading as fast as you're watching, right? And of course, the little mystery tagged onto it is exciting because you don't know.
Well, I heard the
who
book
done
is
it.
mostly about the mystery.
Well, I'm sure it's about maybe all of it, but more. They said it was a little bit more.
That's
about
what Maddie
murder.
said. It was more focused on the murder, where the movie was more about the romance.
So I'm sure the whodunit's kind of always fun. You never know. So that's fun while you're reading, trying to figure it out. And then on top of that, you have a love story. And then on top of that, you have a wild story about a woman that grew up in the swamps. Like, it is a cool plot.
It's the greatest story I've ever.
Yeah. It's a very cool plot.
It is. But
And
I just didn't think it was that new.
Well, you watched it also at nighttime and when you were tired. Classic Matt falls asleep every movie.
I did not fall asleep, did I?
You almost,
Did I?
You're surprised that you didn't.
No, I think I
do.
made it. We had snacks. We broke our fast that night.
But I said to you numerous times, "Are you sleeping? Are you sleeping?" And you're like, "No, I'm good."
No. See, the only reason that I stayed up in that movie, I'll tell you straight up,
It's for the murder.
I just need to know who killed who.
Right.
That's all I need to know.
Right.
Like, that's my type of
Meanwhile,
movie.
I
right?
was relishing in the romances, and I was like, "Oh, Tate, he's so cute."
Oh, yeah. Tate. I like the other guy. No, I was kidding. No, I'm kidding.
Really?
No, I love Tate.
Yeah.
Guy's the man.
Anyway, so we watched that. Please let us know if it's also one of your favorite books and why you love it so much, because I didn't read the book on purpose. I knew they were making a movie of it, and always, I have never watched a movie that's better than a book. When I've read the book and then I watch the movie, I'm never as satisfied. So I knew I'd want to watch the movie, and I wouldn't get around to reading the book, so I didn't read the book. So
Are
I haven't
movies
read it.
ever better than the books?
I've never. I mean, Harry Potter, man, that's a good movie. But the diehard Harry Potter fans,
So
like
my
the
whole
readers,
family.
will tell you, of course, the books are better. They always are, right?
How?
Your imagination. You think of the craziest things. Like, we can bring it back to our little joke about my porno books. But, like, your imagination is so much better than what you see on screen.
Some movies are really well done, though. Like Gone Girl. Could that have been better in a book? I don't know. I thought, like, the cinematography and everything, like, Gone Girl was a 10 out of 10.
I'm trying to read it. I think I read the book. I read the book in a day.
Did you? Gone Girl?
And it was amazing.
And then, like, another one that was a book that did really well in the box office was Girl. Man, she had all the tattoos. What was it? Girl with the butterfly tattoo and then the dragon tattoo.
Girl with the dragon tattoo. That's
The
it.
Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. That movie, for me, was a 10 out of 10.
A lot of people didn't like that movie. A lot of people shit on it because they said the original
Swedish one, yeah,
was like 100 times better.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I
there's
really
always
liked
movie critiques everywhere.
The Hollywood one.
Yeah, me. Oh,
I'm
do
a
too.
movie guy.
I do too.
I don't know. I just find in my life I don't have time for books.
You do.
I mean, I could make time if I wanted to, but I just don't care. I'd rather get in and get out in 90 minutes.
Well, reading's my favorite thing anyway. So
Yeah,
okay,
you've been
so
really into it.
I'm obsessed. I put a book down. I start another one.
You've had this whole change of life.
I'm trying to think of what started with Colleen Hoover. It ends with
It
us.
all started when we went to Dominican. You banged through like 2 or 3 books in a week in Dominican, and then you've been reading like a book every 3 days now. Like,
No, I read, and then I came home and I didn't read again for a little bit, and then Colleen Hoover was suggested to me. It ends with us, and because I kept seeing it all over Instagram, bought it, and then I was done. I love reading. I love it.
yeah.
And I think that's great because there's nothing cooler than, like, a movie does that too.
Have you even flinched this whole episode? I feel like you're like stiff as
I'm so comfortable.
You're just sort of
A movie, you have what?
Here, I'm gonna be like you.
In a movie, you have like 2 hours of time to get away, right? Matt, you're an idiot.
Like,
You have a you have.
You haven't moved.
I'm comfy. I'm resting my hands. Just rest. Why is your chest out like that? Lean back a little bit. Like slouch a little. You're like this.
You know, it's ever since we've been fasting. I have
Yeah.
like.
Anyway, what I wanted to say was that a movie escapes you from things for like 2 hours. Actually, side note, one of my favorite activities of all time is going to the movies. Of all time.
Yeah.
If you were to ask me my favorite, like, not a hobby, because I don't think that's a hobby, but one of my favorite things that I could do would be, I could make it a hobby, I guess. Goes once a week every time.
Gonna go see my matinee.
One of my favorite things to do is go to the movies. You go in there, you get if you don't get snacks, you are a psychopath. The people that walk through a movie theater and don't stop to get snacks.
No, what you don't know is they were brilliant and we went to the dollar store first.
But it's not the same. The
It is
popcorn,
the
no. I have my combo. I get the same thing every time.
Milk duds?
If you must know, it's popcorn, Diet Coke, M&Ms, peanut M&Ms. That's my combo every time. I'll never change it. And I do it even when we watch a movie at home. Like, I have my thing.
Yeah, you do.
Matt
you
hates on me for
do.
always having my thing.
Oh, you're
but
just that.
That's a thing. So
Nice
anyway,
combo.
it is a great combo, in fact.
I think peanut M&Ms are the worst of the four.
And that they actually
Point of contention.
Yeah, well, you're wrong. But anyway, I'm not even going to fight you on that. And it's actually a good thing you've thought that because you never steal them. Every time I have my snacks in the movie theater, you never touch them.
I love peanuts and I love chocolate and I like when they're separate. I'm not a big nutty peanut guy. That made no sense. Nutty chocolate guy.
No, that's right. That made no sense.
Nutty peanut. Okay, it's been a long week, all right? The hurricane.
So
Jeez.
anyway, I love going to the movies. That's it. So I'm going to say, if you ever want to come on a movie date with me, let me know because I will be there. So we watched the movie. Then we went to bed. Yeah. And then we... what?
You just need to say, like, this is what I've been looking This is what I've been looking at the last...
I look like a marshmallow. Fine, I'll sit up.
No, but like, look at you across me.
I
How am I
look
supposed to keep a
comfy.
straight face? Oh my goodness, I love you so much.
Okay.
You're the best person I've ever met, Sheridan.
What was I saying before you interrupted me?
The hurricane.
Oh, right. So I've lived in Nova Scotia for 8 years. 8 years now, I guess. Right?
Yeah, it'd be 8 years and a bit.
And there has not been a storm here for me that I have felt personally, because everyone has a different situation with the storm outcome, that I felt like, oh my gosh. And we've been lucky no matter what every time to either keep power, like with Dorian we had power, and then other storms have just never really done much for us here, like in our home, in our surroundings with our trees and stuff. And so I think leading up to this, I had heard about it. And oftentimes, like Matt, as you're learning, I'm sure if you're a listener to this show.
Just a diehard Matt fan.
No, he's just a very intense person.
Team Matt.
So for him, he hears about this hurricane and he thinks that this is literally going to be, he comes out to me, he's like, shut up! It's the worst one in Canada, they're saying, in decades. So I'm over here like, oh my God, and he thinks that it's actually going to be the end of the world because everything for Matt is the end of the world. True or false?
Okay.
Everything for you is pretty much the end of the world.
I'm definitely going to have to come behind you and sweep up the mess and just like remind you that some people's world came to an end. Like this was a deadly storm.
Absolutely.
Anyway, I'll let you finish.
No, you're completely right. And that's
3 people have died. Sorry, keep going.
Okay, so no, all that makes me look like an idiot.
No, it was crazy.
But what I want to hone in on is every time that something happens for you, it's the end of the world.
Yes.
For you, almost always. So then you make me panic every time.
I try to, yeah.
And then I'm over there panicking. And so when the storm happened, I didn't know what was going to happen. And I was anxious leading up to it, like with what everybody was saying and all the meteorologists and all the weather people. What are they called?
Meteorologists. You got it right the first time, boo.
They were saying that it was going to be one of the worst storms that Canada's ever had with the way that the climate's going and this and that. So anyways,
it was something on the barometer. It was like the lowest. It was the lowest pressure that we've ever had in the atmosphere above Canada,
so
which is crazy.
For us, we lost trees, we lost power, And really that was it. And then we got our power back the following day. But some of our friends literally just got power back yesterday. So it's been a week with no power. And then for Nova Scotia specifically, like Halifax, Nova Scotia, like I don't think we lost trees. A lot happened in the city. Yeah. A lot of like trees were uprooted and stuff. But I believe that Newfoundland and Prince Edward Island had it the absolute worst, right?
Yeah, you're probably like mostly right. I mean, yes, they had it the worst, but I mean, definitely in the city. I mean, like Aiden's father doesn't have a house anymore. Like the roof blew off their home. Right. Like people are living in shelters now. The entire city's still a wreck. If you go downtown, there's trees down everywhere.
Right.
It's super bad. It was crazy.
It was crazy.
Because I had some people, even, I won't name names, but people were in my group chats and stuff being like, that storm was a joke. And it's like, there wasn't much that was funny about it. Like if you go on the internet and look around it, like especially probably Newfoundland, like Port aux Basques, I mean, like there was like dozens of homes just floating in the ocean. It's crazy. Yeah. It was crazy.
Yeah.
We
lucked out, really. We did.
Yeah, I felt super fortunate the next morning. And it really humbles you because you kind of go around making jokes and shit, and then it's like, holy shit.
Right.
Like we are so fortunate that we're not living in a shelter right now. Like anyway, it was crazy. And like at midnight, oh my God.
Well, I actually don't remember hearing a whole lot. I just remember because the way our room is set up and how we have the plexiglass, like kind of going out, and it sort of always creaks a little bit. Then we have that tree on the side that it kept like smashing in the plexiglass. And that was really it that I remember. And then a couple days later, we had that really bad rainstorm that you actually managed, I think, to sleep through. There was lightning, thunder. It was almost worse for me listening than the storm was, personally. And we didn't lose power then. But, yeah, that was kind of I didn't mean to sound insensitive. I just wanted to say that I think so many times leading up to this one, it's always been like a huge let's say even an example of snowstorm. Big snowstorm, schools are canceled, and then there's like a tiny little flake that hits. So it just was hard to imagine that it was actually going to happen.
Yeah.
So I just felt like, is this really it? Is this really it? Because so many times we've been told it's going to be it, right? Like, this is it. Something huge is happening. And then, of course, we were not, a part of what happened in Prince Edward Island in Newfoundland, but I can imagine that. I see actually a lot of stuff happening on social media through Discover Charlottetown and all the repairs and all, they pretty much have to put their whole town back together.
Well, it'll never be the same.
Yeah.
I mean, like Prince Edward Island, for anyone that's never been there before, has all these sand dunes that kind of like wrap the perimeter of the island, and they won't even let you walk on them.
Yeah.
Like you're not even allowed to even like take a piece of sand off it because like it's eroding fast enough anyway, so stay the hell off them. And this storm washed some of those sand dunes back like 30 feet.
I know.
It's crazy because they used to have the boardwalks that would kind of like come out across the grass, and then the stairs go down like right next to the dune, and now the stairs are completely separate from the dunes. The dunes are back like 30, 40 feet from the stairway.
Such a sin.
Oh, and the satellite images? If you see a satellite image of Prince Edward Island right now, the water around it is the color of this table, all the way from Nova Scotia to Prince Edward Island. That much of the sand eroded into the water that from space, it's brown.
I saw
like, they'll never get that back.
Did you see the teacup?
Yeah,
we never went to visit the teacup. We always tried to find it and couldn't find it.
We were right around the corner from it.
Yeah.
Remember? And you left the truck and you went to walk up
to try and find it.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then Newfoundland again. Is this a stupid question? But is Port aux Basques in Newfoundland? Okay. And that is the one that just was absolutely devastating. We saw the video circulating of the homes going out into the sea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's awful.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like we felt pretty fortunate for sure. But I think the thing that's annoying about you, it's one of your best qualities and probably one of your most annoying qualities about you, or we can call it a quality. It's so annoying. You don't show any emotion with anything. You're just like, you don't care about stuff.
I definitely have emotions.
No, you just don't. It's like when that hurricane was coming, you're like, oh, you're overreacting, like chill out. And I'm like at home.
That's actually not what I said. Do you want to know what happened?
Because
this is what I said. I said, there's nothing that we can do about it. It's coming. So
when there was lots we could do about it.
No, I said what we could do is we could fill up the bathtub. We could take stuff out of the fridge. We can put everything in the garage. Like, we can prepare. But other than that, there's nothing you can do. So why get so upset or overwhelmed or whatever when you just have to go with the flow when it happens?
Well, I think it was annoying for me because you were, and I'm getting into details here, but you were out having breakfast, and I'm at home. You're out having eggs and bacon and stuff, and I'm at home, literally like in the absolute pouring rain, like torrential downpour.
I did stuff in the morning too, my friend. Before I left, I brought a lot of stuff.
Moved a couple garbage bins. Sure, I had to move all the patio furniture, strap everything down, move all the trees, pick up all the boards outside. I was moving planters.
I knew the storm wasn't coming until later that night.
I had
for
to
the
fix
record,
the gutter over here. I was up on the roof cleaning.
You said to me, "You should not be going anywhere. There's no gas anywhere. There was no gas up and no." This is what I'm saying. So Matt makes me feel like it's actually the apocalypse. Is that the word I'm looking for? Do not drive. Do not get gas. And it's like there's everyone else also still living. There was people at the mall. There was people going to breakfast.
There was no gas in Tantown.
Well, there's gas every other place.
No, there wasn't.
No, but Matt, I'm just saying, I live with a man that also makes everything a very
prepared,
big deal.
people. I'm
so
prepared.
Needless to say, I knew the storm wasn't happening until nighttime. I knew that. So when I came home from breakfast, there was still no rain on the ground. You would just put everything away. It's true.
Have you lost your mind?
No, it was like
there
a
was
sprinkle.
no rain on the ground.
There wasn't.
What are you talking about?
You know what? Whoever's listening to this and has been a part of the storm.
I was swimming in our yard.
And then it's okay. Anyway, I don't want to talk about the storm anymore. Matt and I are really at each other today.
Oh yeah, and it hadn't even rained yet. Jordan, I was.
There was a little bit of rain, but it was coming
and going.
It looked
like I jumped in a waterfall.
Okay. Anyway, thank you for your help preparing for the storm. Anything else you want to talk about?
Yeah, give me 5. All I was saying is it's annoying that you just slough it off like nothing's gonna happen. So yeah, maybe I like overhype things, but like that got us prepared. Like,
but you overhype everything. So many times I think that the world is coming to an end, and I choose to live life with not thinking that way because that's too stressful.
I wasn't stressed. I was just getting prepared. Like even things like the shed door. You wouldn't have even known, but I strapped the shed door shut. Like there's just like things that... I'm
not talking about the storm anymore. Now I'm just referring to things in life.
Oh no, the storm brings me to our next topic today, people.
Okay.
So when this storm happened, I knew that we were going to lose power. Like obviously they were saying everyone was going to lose power. So I downloaded all of the Dahmer show on my phone.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
So I downloaded, oh my God, those are 10 episodes. I had to use my data to do it too. I ripped into the city and got like the last 5 episodes.
For the record, I have not watched this show. I haven't watched one single second of it, but I have seen every person posting about it on Facebook and on Instagram saying that they watched it.
Did you not see any of it?
None.
Nothing?
None.
Crazy.
Absolutely nothing.
So Sheridan and I had like a quick little bounce off session this morning when we were driving the kids to school and stuff, and I said that we should talk about the Dahmer thing.
Actually, let's straight up say that whole conversation on air. So I said, and you said, go ahead. What did you say?
What? Why are you distracting me out of this?
What did you say? You said, let's talk about the Dahmer thing, and then I said, do you think we should talk about murder on the show?
Yeah.
And then you said...
What the hell did I even say? I don't even remember. I have such short-term memory
loss.
Want
a word for word?
Yeah.
You said, Sheridan, at some point here, you're going to have to start talking about pop culture. We can't just keep talking about the kids being dropped off at school.
Am I right?
Okay. And then I said, that's not what I was trying to say. I wasn't trying to say don't talk about it. I was just saying, do you think that that's the right thing to talk about on our show?
Are you still wearing your wedding ring? Or we're taking our rings off, episode 17.
Anyway, so I said to Matt, sure, talk about it. I didn't watch a single second of it. So you tell me what happened.
Well, I thought it was kind of relevant for a couple reasons, okay? And hear me out on this.
Sure.
I'm trying to, unscripted, so I don't really know where I'm going with this. But, like, A, I think it's relevant because everybody's watching right now and everybody's talking about it. Mm-hmm. And B, I think it's very relevant because a lot of what he did in his life and a lot of these horrible things actually stemmed from childhood and him having really shitty parents. So it actually, like, in a roundabout way, does kind of tie into, like, the roots of this show a bit. But I can get into that after. But what I was going to say is, like, the acting in that show was like, unbelievable. I honestly, personally, and, like, I'm a movie buff. I watch a lot of stuff. I don't know if I've ever seen acting that good. Mm-hmm. Like I really think that he perfectly portrayed it, and I will say too that one thing that I really appreciate about the show is it didn't glamorize it or glorify him at all. Like it was a show that was more, he was definitely like the star of the show, but it was more focused, I think, on the people around it and kind of the circumstances that led him to being the evil person that he was, like rather than it just like, because there's been lots of Dahmer movies and stuff like that, and it's just like hyper focus on him.
What did you just say? There's been lots of Dahmer movies?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
there's probably like 4 or 5 of them.
Okay.
But yeah, I think if I was to pick like my movies that I would say had like the best acting I've ever seen, like Joker would be up there. I thought the Joker movie there with Joaquin Phoenix, like I was like, wow, like what a performance, like to really get in. And then probably before that would probably be Batman Dark Knight, the Joker in that. It's like the Joker brings like the best
right?
out. Yeah, Heath Ledger, yeah. Brings like the best out in people's acting. But yeah, I like this Jeffrey Dahmer thing was crazy. Like I always knew what he did. And I was kind of just tucked away. I didn't spend much time thinking about it. But when this show came on, like, that's my jam. I love true crime shit like that.
I had never heard of him. I've never heard of that man before. No.
See, this is back to the storm prep thing. You just don't pay attention to the world. You had never heard of Jeffrey Dahmer.
No, that's right.
Wow. Really?
Really?
Oh my God. Anyway,
I will say that I that I have heard as well, because you're saying that again. I haven't watched it, so I can't really talk through it with you at all. But that you're saying that it wasn't about him; it was more about the people around him and stuff. And I've read articles that people are very upset about that Netflix series being made because they didn't warn them or tell them that it was going to happen, and then they kind of have to relive that all over again. And I can imagine, as being a victim from that, it would be an absolute nightmare to go through that all over again. Yeah. So that's a sin, and I think that sucks.
Well, I mean, it's been 30 some years, and it's something that.
Well, yeah, but like I said, so I didn't watch it, but I came across randomly. I don't know why it fed it to me, but probably because it's so popular right now. That there was the last gentleman that was not killed, and that he got away. And I heard his testimony, like when he was on the stand, and it was just it was so sad to watch. Like this man is a traumatized man, and now I read rumors that he's homeless, and that is he's having a very hard life. So you can say, it was 30-something years ago. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter for them. They were victims forever.
I'm not saying because it's been 30 years. I'm just saying like. I think it would be a lot more insensitive if there was a movie the next day. It's been 30-some years, and this is a piece of history. It's a crazy thing. He's one of the most notorious serial killers in the history of the world.
Well, why does it have to be a piece of history? Like, for what reason?
Well, see, this is a really interesting thing, and am I a weirdo? I don't know.
Well, you're not the only one. Everyone loves hearing about
it's the number one show right now. So you know what I mean? I'm not alone in thinking this, but there's something that's super.
Well, you mentioned
intriguing about it.
You mentioned it the other day in the kitchen, and you said, I think the reason why we're so obsessed with murder and killing and stuff like this is because you can't possibly imagine ever doing something like that. So it's fascinating for people that don't think like that to wonder what the fuck is in these people's brains, right? The psyche.
Is that it? I don't know. I don't know what it is. I can barely watch something if someone doesn't die in it. Yeah. Like if we're the Crawdads Sing, if there wasn't a murder, I wouldn't have even watched it. Like I need a mystery of some sort, and I don't know why that is. Am I weird? Like what? I don't know what it is, but this Dahmer thing was like, oh my God, like it's so crazy. And so like I was saying, I mean his upbringing was like super weird. Like his mom apparently had taken a whole bunch of medication when she was pregnant with him. Okay. And they were like anxiety pills and shit. She took a ton of them.
I think you can take anxiety pills.
I don't know. She was taking something that a lot of people have like attributed maybe like some chemical like weird shit going on with this kid. I mean, he's so evil that you have to think that he may have been born with something different about him. I mean, like how does like something
so
like
evil as a child, you mean?
No, I mean, I guess he probably, I've heard this before. When people do animal cruelty, when children do animal cruelty.
It's usually the beginning of something.
Yeah,
Not always, but it's certainly a sign.
Well, I mean, if it was always the case, then I would be a serial killer. Because there was some times where, like, I did, like, some weird shit. Like, I think my buddy and I killed a frog one time. It's like, that's fucking weird. It's, like, weird. But I'm not a serial killer.
Why would you do that?
I don't know. We're just, like, kids, and we're just, like, life. I don't know. We're just, like, figuring things out.
I'm
and
the
shit.
type that brings, like, the caterpillar outside.
No, I know. So am I now.
Are
When
you?
I was a kid, yeah. No, I don't know, man. Kids do weird shit. Like I've watched Theodore go outside and go blah, 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 and like kill a few slugs in the yard.
Yeah,
You know
but
what
a
I mean?
frog's a big deal. It's much bigger.
Yeah, it was definitely a little weird for sure.
Okay, anyway.
Okay, sure. And one time in my life, I killed a frog. Okay.
Long.
Anyway, I
What?
oh, yeah, the rings off.
Slowly taking it off.
No, but he started doing these things where, like, if they found him and his dad, if they found like roadkill, they would like go home and like
Inspect it.
dissect it. They would like if they found like a squirrel on the side of the road, like when we drive along the road and see a squirrel, they would stop the car, back up, throw it in the trunk, and then he'd go home and like cut it open
Him
and
and
like
his dad would.
yeah, like open it up
Was
and
his
like
dad like a scientist or something?
his dad actually was a scientist, but not a biologist. I don't think. I think he was a chemist. But anyway, regardless, I mean that's weird ass shit. Like
Yeah.
you're doing this with your 5-year-old kid.
Yeah, it's weird.
And so, like, then he became fascinated with this idea of, like, touching things, like insides and shit. Like, he'd take the insides and squeeze it, and that would arouse him. Like, yeah. Anyway, so his mom abandoned him when he was, I think he was, like, 10 or 11 years old or something like that. His mom left.
Yeah.
And, like, no, but, like,
Because
left
she was just, like, overwhelmed with what they were like? Like, was it getting worse? Or was she just thinking they were weird? Like,
maybe he was a little older than that. Maybe he was, like, 15 or something. I don't even know. I don't know. Fact check this. I don't even know. But she left. She didn't want to be with her husband anymore and literally just took his brother, packed in a car, and left while her dad
he had a
was-
brother?
And left.
Yeah.
While his dad was at work, just left him home alone, just abandoned him. Was just like, you're weird and I'm leaving. And left her son. And so then he was just him and his dad. And at this point, I mean, shit just went downhill. But it's just, I think, anyway, we could stop talking about Jeffrey Dahmer. But I think like the reason that I thought it would be interesting to bring this up is just like really, it goes to show you like how important raising your kids is. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
I do.
Like the importance of raising good kids. And who knows, maybe, you know, I'm sure times happen where you feel like you're the most perfect parent in the world and things go off the rails. But I think if you look at this, the circumstances surrounding Jeffrey Dahmer, like if you
It
look,
helped play part into who he became, is what you're
like
saying?
you're at home cutting animals open with your kid.
Well,
like you're abandoning your son. Like it's just weird. And then look what happened.
Sure, but we can't blame all of that on his parents. I don't think. I mean, I'm sure
but
like
let's say if Theodore started doing weird shit in his teens, are you going to jump in the minivan and drive away with Sage and never come back? That's what his mother did.
But what I wanted to say was this kind of plays into, I think it was on the tip of my tongue there when you were still talking, but I saw somebody post a meme the other day, or like a thing on Facebook, and it basically said, man, I wish I could pull it up, but it was sort of like, oh my God, how did she word it? Something about how my kids aren't good kids just naturally, like I put in the work and that's the reason why, and like da-da-da-da, like I'm, like basically you need to put your kids in check. That's the only way they're going to be good kids.
Okay.
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 And I thought to myself, or otherwise it's an embarrassment. Oh my God, I wish I could find this exactly how it was worded.
Stop trying to think too much about it and just summarize
the
idea.
first thing I thought of in my head, this is how it might come out, was, well, that's not fair because I have a Theo, right? And we work so hard with Theo and we parent so well and do the best that we can do. And then he still does stupid shit. Is basically, does that kind of make sense to how she was wording it? As in, like, they wouldn't do stupid shit if you had them in line and you were doing it properly and parenting them properly. It was basically how it said. And I was like, well, that kind of hurts because I don't agree with that. And I don't think that it's fair to say that because Theo is who he is and we're doing the best that we can do, but he's still going to go off and do his own thing and act the way that he acts.
For sure.
Because he's his own person.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I don't know about all that. Like, but I do also think that parents mold and shape and help and guide to make that child the best version that they can be. And if they're a good parent, that's what they'll do. So obviously, I mean, I don't want to talk about this Dahmer thing anymore, but like the parents were not ideal, you know, but I probably think this guy might've been a little bit messed up. And then the whole recipe you added in together, blended up, and that's what you get.
Yeah.
But, yeah, like I think oftentimes, and you'll hear it so many times, I know family members, extended family members. I know people that have children and they're amazing parents and they're amazing people, and their children, it doesn't work out for them, you know, and they either end up homeless or they end up addicts or they do this or they do that. And their parents do everything that they can do and try their hardest. So I don't think that was necessarily a fair thing for her to say. That's all I want to say.
But it's a balance, though. It's a balancing act.
Sure.
And I did sprinkle that in my sentiment that I was saying there a few minutes ago, is that, like, I don't think you can fully blame it on the parents. Like, but I mean, it definitely, like, influences it for sure.
Yes, of course.
Like, the activity that he would do with his father is that.
Right.
Like, maybe looking at your child and kind of, like, understanding, you know, you could kind of see the things.
Trying to get him help.
It's like, maybe
yeah, definitely.
this isn't a great activity.
Right.
Like, you know,
no, I agree. But do you understand what I'm saying with the other stuff?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and everybody
100%.
blames the parent sometimes, or, you know, goes back to your childhood. And it's like, yeah, for sure. Definitely that's a part of it. Absolutely. But it's not the whole thing.
No,
you know?
it's not.
It's not.
I mean, you know, your kids leave you for 8 hours a day and go to school and shit. They're being influenced by a whole bunch of people there every day. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
They could be hanging around with a bad apple there that freaking going through high school and shit. Oh, try this or whatever. You know what I mean?
And they're also just their own person with their own personalities. I look at our 3 children and you couldn't find 3 more different children.
Yeah.
It's crazy. They have a lot of similarities, sure, but like they are completely different.
So do you think more often than not it is something that comes from the house? Or what?
Like how you turn out, you mean? Like as an adult, we're going to say?
Because I think
oh, frig, I was talking to Amanda yesterday at judo, and what did she say? She said that somebody said something to her about how it's not nature, or it's not nurture, it's nature, and it's how you nurture that nature, that something. That probably doesn't make sense. Amanda can help me figure that out. But
no, that makes sense. I've never heard that before.
Basically, with the gene pool, like
it's not nurture, it's nature, but it's how you nurture the nature.
Yeah, like
yes, that's exactly what I'm saying, just in a way more cool way of saying it. It's Shakespearean of you, Amanda.
Well, wow. Talking a lot about. Like, we were talking about her son, her middle, and how he's exactly like her husband. Like, exactly. And I'm like, genes are a crazy thing. Like, genetics. And I'm like, I often think I look at Theo, and of course I think he has a chemical imbalance going on in there, and we'll work on that as the time comes. But I also look at you, and I'm like, well, yeah, it makes sense Theo is the way that he is because you are the way that you are.
Oh, well, and Theo on
no, but I mean, I don't. No,
he is awesome
in so many great ways. Yes. He's so loving. He's so affectionate. He's so hyper. He's so energetic. He wants to do. That's all you.
So handsome.
That's all you, though. And then you look at Kaya. She's more chill. She hates the mornings. Like all these things. She's very motherly. She's very nurturing. She's empathetic. Like all these things that Kaya is. And I'm like, I'm those things, right? So genetics definitely are huge. I remember when you and I started dating and I met your dad, and you, like your biological dad, and you didn't spend a whole lot of time with him growing up. Like he was in Nova Scotia, you were in Ottawa, and you would go up and visit for a couple weeks out of the year, but you did not spend time with him and were in his home every day. And I see many characteristic, not personality. I don't think your personalities are much the same, except for your maybe stupid sense of humor, but a lot of the way you do things, the way you like, it's so ridiculous.
I know.
And the very first time you guys, like I went over there, he stood like this, and I looked at him. I was like, oh, Matt, you do that.
Yeah.
Like, what? And I'm like, it's not like you ever saw your dad just like walking around like this for you to do it. You just do it.
Yeah.
So I think genetics are wild, and I do think that a huge part of children and them growing up and them learning and them, you know, figuring out how to be a human in this world is from the home. And I'll say that because when I was a child, I always remember feeling no matter what, no matter how my day went, no matter what I was going through at school or with friends, I'd always go home and I would feel safe and I would feel loved. And I remember thinking there's a lot of kids that go home that don't feel that way, and that's not fair, and that sucks. And my heart hurts for them, and they probably don't have as much love at home to help nurture and
Their
form
nature.
Right, which, you know, isn't cool, basically. I feel like I made a good point and then I ended it in a bad fashion, but I just feel like, you know, yes, the home is an absolutely crucial, huge part of this all.
Yes.
Huge, but it's not the whole thing.
No.
Is what we can agree on, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, imagine
and
if
so-
Theo had parents that just didn't give a shit.
Well, imagine if you just took Sage and got in the car and left him forever.
Well, yeah, I'm
And
not
just never
talking about,
came.
I'm over talking about the Dahmer
No, but I
thing,
mean, it just like I'm actually imagining. It's such a crazy thing, and I don't want to
absolutely.
sympathize with them. It's just I
You're
think
not sympathizing
no,
with
but I
this
think
man.
I think you have to just be the best parent you can be, and when
Yes.
you see your kids going through things and stuff, you have to get on your knees and really like help your children out and put yourself in vulnerable positions to get just to you know to build some synergy in that relationship between you and your kids.
Well, there's a lot of people that you hear in this life, and they just say, I just didn't even stand a chance. I didn't have a chance.
Yeah.
With my childhood, the way I had a mom that was not there, dad that was a drunk, whatever. He used to beat me. Like, I didn't have a chance. You know what I mean? And that just fucking sucks. It sucks.
Yeah.
So there's that.
So Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah.
10-part miniseries.
Somebody asked
I
me a
thought it was
question
really good.
the other day and said, where'd it go? And said, any fears with starting this podcast? And I found that interesting because, because I'm assuming they're referring to my online presence already. And if I have any fears about it. And actually, Amanda asked again yesterday. She's just top of mind right now because we had judo yesterday. And she said, are you ever worried? Like, word for word, what you're saying, if people are going to take that and run with it. And you know what I'm trying to say. Because we're here. We talk for an hour unscripted every week. And half the time
But it's not live. I can edit.
Yeah. No, but we don't edit. We edited once. One time we took something out.
I think there was 2.
A couple times we left and
We scrapped the whole
started.
episode once.
Yes, but what I'm saying is
So I went off the rails.
still everything that comes out of my mouth and your mouth is unscripted, and it almost always goes up.
Yeah.
So any fears of the podcast, I feel like I said to her at the beginning, I totally was anxious and a little bit, you know, cautious and nervous, and because it is weird. Like, Instagram doesn't let me talk for this long with my partner in front of me about whatever.
No.
I'm showing up and I'm doing stories, but I don't have to post them. I can start over and redo them 100 times.
That's why this podcast is amazing.
Yeah, so I think that it's cool because I think people really get to feel like they know us, you know, the real version of us. And it can be a little bit scary to put that out there and be like, I hope you like it.
Yeah.
So definitely I had a couple fears, but now I've realized that I just really like doing it for myself, and I think you like it too. Just chatting and
I
our
have a blast
relationship.
doing it. I really like doing it.
Yeah.
Because I like rambling anyway.
Yeah.
So now I have a microphone and an outlet to do it. But even from like taking the Instagram thing away from it and just thinking like starting a podcast, was it scary? Like I don't know. To me, I just look at life like you have one go at this. You literally have one shot at life. And I think that if there's things out there that excite you or things that you wonder if they'd be a ton of fun, it's like you will never know until you dive into it and just do it. And I would say, you know, for me and you, neither of us overthink anything. We just kind of do it. We do. It's just, like, look at us when we got married. We were just like, yeah, it's gonna be the wedding day, and like everything that we do, we just kind of roll with it. Like this weekend, are we gonna do the date night thing? I don't know. Maybe like some people might need to plan that 2 months in advance, but we just do things on a whim. Oh, let's go apple picking tomorrow. Okay, sure. Like, and the podcast is like, you want to start a podcast? I was like, yeah, let's come up with a name first. Let's do it. You know what I mean? And then we just did it. I mean,
Yeah.
we don't let too many things hold us back. I feel like, hey, let's do this to our backyard. Okay, high five, do it. Like, we just live once, YOLO.
Well, we're also fortunate enough that we've worked our asses off to get the position where we can start a podcast, do it properly, have all the right things, and hope it was worth it and cross our fingers and toes, right? And at this point, it's not overly worth it. We haven't made a cent off of this. That's not true. I'm sure we made like $50.
It's 100.
100?
Yeah, $100.
Oh my God, that's exciting. But needless to say,
It's enough to pay for 2 of the hats I've worn.
for us, this is just an adventure, right? Something that we're able to do and just do it for fun. And we did put quite a bit of money into this. And
It was for us to get everything set up. I think came to about $11,000 by the time we set the whole thing up.
right. And most people wouldn't be able to just go into an adventure.
You don't have to do.
No, I know. You can buy a microphone and just set it up.
Maybe you can set your iPhone up.
Yeah,
do
you're
a show
right.
on your iPhone.
Yeah, you're right.
I think I had a really good point to make when you were talking there.
Sorry.
No, don't be sorry you didn't interrupt me. I think I actually interrupted you, but I think that you just got to go with it. That
That's
wasn't
your
the
point?
point. No, I can't remember what the point I was going to make
Sweet,
was.
good
I
one,
totally.
hon, good one.
You said something. I was like, I have a really good point to make about this.
Um,
Can't remember what it was.
sleep
Oh,
divorce.
I know what it was going to make.
Okay,
I know
go
the
ahead.
point I was
Yep.
going to make. Don't chase money in this world. Chase your dreams and chase your happiness, and then the money will come. I truly, 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 like if I ever did a speech at an auditorium at school or something like that, that would be the thing I would say. And I'll preach it to our kids to the nth degree. Like in this world, as you're coming out of high school and going into college and anything, don't go around chasing money because it'll never bring you fulfillment. Go out there and chase the things that truly make you happy in your heart, and the money will come. I promise you that's the way it works. And that's my point. So this podcast, we spent $11,000 setting this room up. If we don't make a penny off this, I don't care.
Yeah.
I think it's fun. It's something different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And if anything, if this podcast never makes a penny and never does anything from a monetary standpoint,
Our kids can listen to it years down the road.
The kids can listen to it down the road. And then B, I also think that if you look back at your Instagram and your other social media presence, I think it builds that up a little bit. I think it adds more depth to it.
Well, you make a good point, because I make my money on Instagram and I have a good career out of that, but I have a lot more fun over here in the podcast world and posting my reels and I find that fun. So, I mean, I don't know if the money will come here, but needless to say that like this is really fun for me right now. And
Yeah.
Instagram is just kind of like my work, and this sort of feels like my fun time, you know?
Yeah. It's balance.
Let's talk about being sleep divorced.
What the hell is that again? Is that when we had separate beds?
So sleep divorce is a term, and it is a thing, and it's basically when couples do not sleep in the same bed. So they're sleep divorced. So they're still together, but in terms of sleeping, they are no longer. And look at your face. You're like, this sounds great.
It sounds fantastic.
I love this. Okay, first I want to say that Matt and I have extremely different sleeping patterns. We do not sleep the same. We don't like the same things. Like at bedtime, Matt would like to watch a movie. He'd like to watch a movie. He'd like to pull up his laptop and work. And almost every night I go in when he's asleep, because lately you've been asleep before me, and you have a show literally pressed up to your ear with like the phone's at your ear and you're listening to a show, and that's how you fall asleep.
Yeah, because you won't let me have any sounds in the room. It's so annoying.
But then on the flip side, and Matt also sleeps like an actual animal. So he has his legs up everywhere. The blankets are all like, he's just, and to me, I think it's crazy. And thinking back on when I was a child, I've always slept the way I do. Where you think it's so annoying?
Like a board?
Yes.
And you don't move all night?
Yes.
People that move aren't
with
crazy.
my legs perfectly and like the blanket right tucked under. I've slept like that for as long as I can remember.
I think
never.
You're weird.
No,
You
so
literally, like, Sheridan lays there stiff as a board all night. Like, doesn't even move. Like, and if I move, it's a problem.
yeah,
Get them straight in the
there's
blanket
been
and
many
pull it
times where I've
tight.
got up in the night and fixed the blanket. Like I hate when the blanket is all messed up. I honestly can't sleep. Like when I feel
By
my
all mess up, she means like as wrinkled as like this on my sweater right now, like a wrinkle.
No, even sometimes if the blanket goes like under and I feel my feet on it, I'm like, this is a panic attack for me. I can't.
I love the foot on the blanket method.
All to say, and I like to go to bed in darkness with like some sounds going, and that's it. That's it. So you can imagine on opposite sides, we're doing completely different things, like completely. So sometimes I'm like, I don't know. So many a times, like we haven't slept in the same room over the last however many years because the kids have been kind of co-sleeping and whatever. I remember at one point, I'm pretty sure Matt had his own room over in the guest room.
I did. I mean, it wasn't my decor, but yeah, I think it was it when Sage was born? No.
It was a nice big king size
No,
bed,
I think
too.
maybe it was when Sage was born.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was down the other room, and I loved it. I loved it down there. I trot off to my own room, had a great sleep.
Yeah, night.
Yeah, night, babe. Peace out. Oh yeah, I'd be over there with a movie on the iPad and everything.
Well, it's
living
funny
my
because
best.
it is amazing. And even I'm like, hey, good night. No one's here to interrupt me. I can just fall asleep. But then on the flip side, I do think that like naturally you have to lose a little bit of that connection that you have with your partner being sleep divorced, right? Like it only makes sense. You can't sleep in a separate room from somebody forever and like have that closeness, I don't think. Or maybe you can, and we should really try it out. Because you can imagine people probably go over, sleep with their partner, like sexually, I mean, and then they're like, okay, bye. And they go off and do their own thing, which isn't a bad thing.
Yeah.
What were you just looking at?
Just a couple little tidbits for the end of the episode. We got to wrap this up.
Oh, okay. What are your tidbits?
It was,
You just looked at that whole thing, didn't pay attention
oh my
to
God,
the
that was
sleep
like 5
divorce
seconds.
chat. Yeah,
No,
but
that was like 5 seconds. I
but
don't
you-
want to talk about sleep divorce.
why? It's funny because it's definitely more common than you think. And I'm wondering, like, should we maybe just be sleep separated and try it out?
Oh yeah, it gets a little
See
caught.
if
in
we
the corner.
divorce or not. Yeah.
Oh my God, no! I think I looked at my phone for 2 seconds and just did a quick scroll, and I just saw a thing that said me and Richard's Christmas tree. I don't know, it's not Christmas, so maybe this doesn't make sense to bring it up. But my God, it was one funny friggin' story though.
You want to tell a story? Okay.
No, when I was yeah, and then do you have a dirty little secret?
No.
The only reason I'm pressing to wrap this up is because we gotta try and get this up today. Like this is crazy.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Today's episode is being recorded today.
Live.
No, so Richard and I, we got our very first apartment when we were 18. So, like, you know what that's like, your first apartment. Like, I left out from underneath Mom's wings and went out and got a place with Cherd. That was my best friend back in the day. He was, man, that was 25?
What?
No.
How old are you?
How long ago would that have been?
You would've
19 years ago. Half my life ago. Crazy.
Wow.
18, 19 years ago. Anyway, regardless. So we moved into an apartment in Clayton Park, and it and hopefully this is funny when I tell it. It had cathedral ceilings, so we had like 20-some foot ceilings in our apartment. We had like
That sounds nice.
Oh man, our apartment was fire. It was
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
And like we paid $700 a month for our rent there. Like I bet you
Wow.
that same place is like
700
20
each, you mean?
No, combined. It was like $350 each.
What?
With inflation and shit, right? Yeah, $700 a month. Cherd and I paid there, $350 each. Man, and we were still broke. Like we had nothing. Like it was crazy. And that'd be a cool episode sometime. Just talking about just like
Yeah.
that,
The
the
glow
evolution
up,
of
I
life.
guess.
It's crazy to think when I was 18, I was literally eating like Carl Buddig sandwich meat for 99 cents and living off that and weed and Colt 45s. Like had nothing. Like nothing.
Sounds
Anyway,
amazing.
so Cherd and I have this apartment. We moved in probably like September or something like that. And Christmas is rolling around. Cherd and I are both like, man, we got to get a wicked Christmas tree. Like we have to, but you weren't allowed to have a real tree for like, because they do like they have like a ban on real trees for fear of having like a fire in the building
that
or
makes
whatever.
sense, yeah.
So anyway, Cherd and I were
Already
like,
illegal what you're doing. I
yeah.
see.
Oh yeah, Cherd and I didn't care
Perfect.
at all. So we were like, man, like look at these ceilings. Like let's get a massive Christmas tree. So Cherd and I don't even know where we bought it. I think we got it like the Sobeys down the
Yeah.
street there or whatever. But we got the biggest Christmas tree you could possibly get.
Okay.
And so we hid it outside and then brought it up in the night because you weren't allowed to do it. And our landlord lived right. So there was like a little like commune of buildings, and the landlord lived literally directly under us and across the hallway.
Okay.
So in order to get the tree upstairs, we had to go through the spiral staircase and pass by the guy's place. And he was a pretty hard ass dude too. He wasn't like one of those like super old landlords. He was like a pretty like tough dude and everything. And anyway, so there was like pine needles everywhere and shit, and we're like sweeping up the needles behind us and everything. And we get this full tree set up. And I just remember me and Cherd standing there like looking, like marveling at our tree, and we had it all decorated and everything. And yeah, so Cherd and I had our first Christmas tree together. It was friggin' awesome. And the next day, the plumbing blew underneath of our sink. So there's fucking water pouring everywhere. Like like our apartment's like flooding. Like this is bad news. Like we're gonna need to get the landlord up here to help, and we've got this big fucking Christmas tree. So we're like, oh my god, man, like what are we gonna do? So anyway, we bagged up the friggin' pipes and everything. We were like, hey, it's bought us a couple minutes. So Cherd and I took the Christmas tree and like wedged it into the storage room. Like we had these giant storage rooms in our unit, but the tree wouldn't fit. So the thing was like literally like bent over in the room, and we kept it decorated and everything. So anyway, we got the tree in there wedged in, and got the door shut behind it and everything. I went downstairs and knocked on the landlord's door, and he came up to fix the plumbing and shit. So he gets in there, fixes it all up and everything. Yeah, so anyway, that was all good. Got the plumbing fixed. He got out of there and shit. So he, like, literally, like, the door, and knowing Cherd and I mean, this is probably how it actually unfolded. Like, the door shut behind him, and we probably lit a joint and brought our Christmas tree back out. So anyway, Cherd and I are now standing there in the living room, propping our Christmas tree back up, getting everything all arranged around and everything. Like, I'm telling you, like, this thing was like 15 feet high. And don't we hear a knock at the door like 20 minutes later? He forgot one of his tools under the sink. So here we are with the Christmas tree back up and everything. So anyway, I remember just going over and opening the door, and we were just like, there's no way we can hide this right now. Like, I opened the door, but I remember my heart sank. Like, I opened the door, and there was the landlord standing there after we just got the trees set back up. So he came in and guys saying, he didn't say anything about
He didn't?
He didn't say shit about it. But I just remember Cherd and I just being like, fuck, we got this tree. Like, the tree was as big around as this table. Like, anyway. It's not even Christmas, but it was a funny story. I'll never forget that.
And it's kind of cute that the landlord didn't say anything. He's probably like, how did you get that in 20 minutes up and decorated? You were clearly hiding it.
And and it was kind of an open concept apartment. So like when you came in, I mean, like the kitchen
you'd see it
was
right away.
Literally right beside the Christmas tree.
Oh. I love you.
Anyway, let's wrap this up and start editing, getting this up today.
Okay.
This is crazy.
Like, subscribe.
Oh, wait,
Thanks for being here.
Secret?
No, I don't have one.
Dirty little secret?
No. We had sex last night. Dirty little secret. There it is.
Woke her up in the night.
Yeah. That was nice. I like that we've done that a couple times now. Feels special.
Yeah, it does feel a little special, doesn't it? It's not like templated.
It's more like intimate, I find. Yeah. Because you're right. I mean, we won't talk about this, but more often than not, I'm like, Matt, I text him. I'm like, come on up. And I'm just lying there starfishing.
All right.
Yeah,
it's time.
Get in the mood. But this, I know you hate on my porno books. Last episode, but I bet you half the reason why I'm into it is because of those books. So, better keep reading, bitches. Okay, bye. Like, subscribe. Thanks.
Penthouse, issue 382.
It's the Two Gems Podcast.